The essay that I chose to do my report on is Fear of a Black Mother by Shannon Gibney. I chose it because I instantly connected with her in terms of a mother desperately needing to protect her kids at all costs. It's like an instinctual thing, and I can relate to please love and accept my child, because they're just this pure beautiful thing, and they don't mean to, have a tantrum in Target, but the the reality is that I don't know what it's like to have a black son, and that grow up who's expected to grow up to be a black man who society deems monstrous. That's a hideous and sad emotion that I feel reading this essay. Something that surprised me in the essay was when she was talking about her husband Bala and how he was an engaged father, and that it challenges a lot of these like white hippie people who are at this co-op, because they don't want to admit their deep-seated racism in assuming that he's not an engaged father. The line that she used was just like these white liberal minds to the reality of their deep-seated racism. I kind of had to pause with that and be like, hey, not me. Yes, me. And that's the thing that surprised me, is that I had to realize that that's exactly what she was saying, that people don't want to admit that, but it's true. I talked to my husband, who's a white man, and my friend Kayla, who's a black woman with children, with 3 children, one of whom is a boy, and I wanted to get their experiences on this. And my husband feels that he has been lumped in with a group of people, which is white men, his whole life, straight white men, his whole life, and a lot of people don't want to hear his opinions on anything, because of the fact that he's a white man, and we've heard enough of you, we know enough of you, we don't, and they dismiss him even though he's an individual. And in chapter 2, section 1A, we learn a lot about our influences on our identity, and from a young age, your gender and your race, your ethnicity, that really has an impact on who you are and how you see yourself. And he's always kind of seen himself as not a monster, but everyone thinks a monster. And that's a difficult thing for him to live with. My friend Kayla, on the other hand, is a black woman who was raised by a white mother, had a black father who wasn't in the picture, and so she was raised with a lot of white people in Minnesota and then in Mississippi, where she learned to behave according to white society, and oftentimes feels like she doesn't fit into either world because she's not white enough and she's not black enough. And in our book, chapter 4A, we talk about the social penetration theory, and that's by Erwin Altman and Delmas Taylor. It highlights the stages of closeness in communication that you get to with people. And Kayla and I have only known each other really since November, which to me is a very new friendship, but we're already, I feel, at the effective stage, at least, because the two of us can talk about topics involving race, things that are a little uncomfortable, and not fear each other in conflict. Like we can just relate, and she can say, because you're a white lady, and I can say, yeah, and because you're a black woman, and she can agree. And so that's been a new relationship for me to feel out. But chapter 2 of our book also discusses the Johari window, which is a visual representation of the knowledge we have of ourselves and others have of us. And in the hidden quadrant, they talk a lot about secrets. And one of her secrets is that she doesn't feel she fits in with either group ever. And she just feels kind of scared and nervous and unsure all the time. And I just think that that's something to acknowledge that is slightly similar to the Shannon Gibney as a light-skinned black woman. I think that when talking to them, we all kind of agreed that our culture is more aware of diversity than it was 10 years ago. but it doesn't make it more tolerant. Kind of Kayla's perspective is there's a lot of people hating on cultures now that there's social media is everywhere. People have to disagree on things, and Josh's perspective is more that people put themselves into groups so much more readily than before. And I think I agree with probably both of those. I think that as an evaluation of my communication skills, I do think that my fault in this, my flaw, was maybe that I kind of persuaded them to think similarly to me, because I would give examples of like, oh, well, social media, do you think that, and I think that that might have influenced their communication with me a little bit. I do think that my skill in talking to both of them in terms of communication was just my ability to listen. And I think that that's something that doesn't go hand in hand with communication as often as it should. I think that a lot of more people need to be able to listen with an open mind and just validate people. I think that that is a very important aspect of communication, is validating other experiences. And that's kind of the takeaway that I have from this whole essay, is that we really just need to be more attentive to people and just be willing to listen. Sorry, I went over a little bit, but hopefully that's okay.